The great ship Predator's glory hung in the darkness of space, its black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Inside the command center, Captain Tay stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His tall, muscular frame cast a long shadow across the polished floor. 4 yellow eyes scanned the view screen with practiced precision. "Captain, all systems are ready," said Jin, the tactical officer. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. Tay nodded. The Kyrian people had been the masters of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Their bodies were built for hunting: strong muscles, sharp claws, excellent vision, and teeth that could tear through the toughest hide. They had conquered every species they had ever met. None could match their strength or their hunting skills. "Science Officer Sue, report on the new planet," Tay ordered. Sue, smaller than most Kyrians but with an unusually large brain case, stepped forward. Her claws tapped gently on her datapad. "The planet is called Earth by its inhabitants. It is mostly water with several large land masses. The air is breathable for us. The dominant species calls themselves humans. They are not very impressive, physically." She touched a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human male standing naked for comparison. Next to it was a hologram of a Kyrian warrior. "As you can see, Captain, they are much smaller than us. Their muscles are weak. They have no claws, no fangs. Their skin is soft and tears easily. Their eyes can only see in a narrow spectrum. Their hearing is poor. They cannot even run very fast." "Weapons expert." Day laughed, his massive shoulders shaking. "This will be the easiest hunt in years. Where is the sport in such weak prey?" Captain Tay raised a hand to silence him. "Never judge prey by its appearance alone. That is the first rule of hunting." He turned to Sue. "What about their technology?" "Primitive," Sue replied. "They have just begun to explore their own solar system. They have no faster-than-light travel. Their weapons use simple chemical explosives or basic energy systems." Tay walked around the hologram, studying the human figure carefully. Something didn't feel right. The galaxy was full of weak species, but they usually had some obvious defense: speed, poison, or hard shells. These humans appeared to have nothing special at all. "How did they become the dominant species on their planet?" he asked. Sue looked down at her datapad. "That is unclear, Captain. Their planet has many large predators that seem better suited to dominate. Yet somehow the humans have spread across the entire planet." Tay grunted thoughtfully. In his long career, he had learned that unexpected prey could be the most dangerous. "What does the High Command say?" he asked Jin. Jin touched his communication panel. "High Command has reviewed our initial report. They have authorized a hunting expedition to Earth. They believe humans may provide useful genetic material for our bioengineering programs." Tay nodded. The Kyrian Empire was always looking for new genetic traits to add to their own. After conquering a species, they would take the most useful genetic material and incorporate it into future generations of Kyrians. "Very well," Tay said. "Set course for this Earth. We will observe first, then select a small hunting ground to test these humans." "Yes, Captain," Jin said, typing commands into his console. The great engines of the Predator's glory hummed to life. The stars on the view screen shifted as the ship turned toward a small blue-green planet in the distance. 3 days later, the Kyrian ship hung in orbit around Earth. Their advanced cloaking technology made them completely invisible to human scanners. The command center was dark except for the glow of screens showing different parts of the planet below. "Their communications are primitive but numerous," Jin reported. "They have thousands of different languages, though one called English seems most common for international communication." Tay watched the screens with growing interest. The humans moved about in strange metal vehicles. They lived in huge groups, much larger than Kyrian hunting packs. Their cities sprawled across the landscape like giant hives. They build impressive structures for such weak creatures, Day admitted, watching footage of tall buildings. Sue was focused on her own screen. "Captain, I've been analyzing their biology. They have unusual endurance. They cannot run fast, but they can run for very long periods without stopping. And their hands. They can manipulate objects with remarkable precision. "Show me their warriors," Tay ordered. The screens changed to show human military exercises. Soldiers marched in formation, fired weapons, and conducted battle simulations. Tay laughed again. "Look how slow they move. A Kyrian child could outfight their best warrior." "Perhaps," Tay said, "but notice their discipline. And those weapons, they may be simple, but they could still kill." He turned to his officers. "We will follow protocol. First, we study. Then we take a few specimens for testing. Only then do we decide if a full hunt is warranted." Tay pointed to a large forested area on the map. "This region appears to be used for military training. There are small groups of humans, but no large settlements. We will start there. I'll prepare the scout ship," Jin said, standing up. "I want to lead this mission myself," Tay decided. "Jin-Su, you will come with me. Day, you will remain here and monitor our communications." Day looked disappointed, but nodded. As the others prepared for the mission, Tay went to his private quarters. The room was Spartan, decorated only with trophies from his most impressive hunts: a fang from the swamp beasts of Tarvis Thor, a claw from the flying predators of Nexus Prime. He opened a small case and removed his ceremonial hunting dagger. The blade was made from a rare metal that never dulled. The handle was wrapped in the hide of the first large prey he had killed as a young hunter. Tay ran a claw along the blade's edge. Every new hunt began with a prayer to the ancient hunters who had made the Kyrian race strong. He closed his eyes and whispered the sacred words. "May my hunt bring honor to the pack. May my prey be worthy of the chase. May my kill be clean and swift." But as he finished the ritual, a strange feeling settled in his gut. In 30 years of hunting across the galaxy, he had developed strong instincts. Right now, those instincts were telling him to be careful. These humans, there was something about them he couldn't quite understand. They seemed weak, yet they had conquered their entire planet. They seemed primitive, yet they built complex machines. Tay sheathed his dagger and attached it to his belt. Whatever these humans were, he would soon find out. The hunt was about to begin, and Captain Tay had never failed to bring down his prey. What he didn't know was that this hunt would be different from any he had experienced before. For the first time in Kyrian history, the hunters were about to become the hunted. The scout ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its cloaking shield making it invisible against the morning sky. Inside, Captain Tay watched the forest landscape grow larger on the view screen. Tall trees covered rolling hills, with a small clearing where a group of human soldiers had set up camp. "Landing zone secure," Jin reported, his clawed fingers moving quickly over the controls. "No sign they can detect us." The ship touched down silently in a dense patch of trees about 1 kilometer from the human camp. The door opened with a soft hiss and cool morning air filled the cabin. Tay breathed deeply. "The air is good. Oxygen levels higher than on our homeworld." Sue checked her scanner. "No dangerous microbes detected. We can remove our masks." The 3 Kyrians stepped out onto Earth soil. They wore dark armor that blended with the shadows of the trees. Each carried different weapons. Tay his ceremonial dagger and a stun rifle, Jin a set of throwing blades, and Sue a collection of scientific tools and a small defense pistol. "Remember," Tay said quietly, "this is only observation. We take no specimens yet." They moved through the forest with practiced ease. Despite their large size, each standing over 2 meters tall, they made almost no sound. This was the skill of born hunters, perfected over thousands of years of evolution and training. When they reached the edge of the clearing, they crouched behind large bushes. About 20 humans moved around the camp, setting up equipment and performing various tasks. "They are even smaller than the hologram suggested," Jin whispered, yellow eyes narrowed. Sue adjusted her scanner. "Average height 1.8 meters. Average weight 80 kilograms. They carry simple projectile weapons." Tay studied the humans carefully. They wore green and brown clothes that helped them blend with the forest, not as effective as Kyrian natural camouflage, but better than he expected. They moved with purpose, each one performing a specific job. "They work well together," Tay noted. "Like a hunting pack." They watched for an hour as the humans ran drills, practiced with their weapons, and coordinated, in small teams. Tay was surprised by their communication. Kyrians hunted in near silence using their natural telepathic abilities to coordinate. These humans talked constantly, using both words and hand signals. "Listen to all that noise," Jin said with disgust. "Any prey would hear them coming from kilometers away." Suddenly, Sue's scanner beeped softly. She silenced it quickly and looked at the display. "Captain, another group of humans is approaching from the east. They move differently from these ones." Tay focused his enhanced vision in that direction. Through the trees, he could see 6 humans moving slowly toward the camp. Their clothes were different, dark colors with paint on their faces. They carried similar weapons but moved in a completely different way, low to the ground using cover, making almost no sound. "Interesting," Tay murmured. "These new ones move like hunters." The 3 Kyrians watched as the 6 newcomers surrounded the camp without being detected. Then, with no warning, they attacked. They fired their weapons, which made sharp popping sounds. The humans in the camp dropped to the ground, some rolling to cover, others lying still. "They hunt their own kind?" Jin asked, confused. Sue studied her scanner. "The weapons fire non-lethal projectiles. This appears to be a training exercise." Tay was impressed. The attacking humans had planned their approach perfectly, used the terrain to their advantage, and struck with precision. When the exercise ended, the 2 groups gathered together. The ones who had been killed listened carefully as the others explained what they had done wrong. "They learn from failure," Tay said. "Like us." "Still," Jin argued, "they are slow and weak. We could take all of them easily." Tay considered this. "Perhaps. But let's observe more before we act." As night fell, the 3 Kyrians continued to watch. The humans built fires, ate food, and talked together. Guards were posted around the perimeter, rotating every few hours. "Their night vision is poor," Sue noted. "They rely on technology to see in darkness." Jin tapped Tay's shoulder. "Captain, this is the perfect time to take a specimen. The ones at the far edge of the camp are isolated from the others." Tay hesitated. Their orders were to observe only, but taking one human would provide valuable information. Finally, he nodded. "One specimen, quick and silent. We'll take the guard farthest from the camp." They circled through the forest until they were behind a lone human guard. He stood near a large tree, holding his weapon and scanning the darkness. He couldn't see the 3 Kyrian hunters just 20 meters away. Tay signaled the plan. Jin would throw a sound maker to distract the human, then Tay would rush in and subdue him while Sue prepared the transportation pod. Jin took his sound maker, HFY, small device that could mimic any noise, and set it to produce the call of an earth owl. He threw it far to the left of the human guard. The device landed silently, then made a perfect hoot-hoot sound. The human guard turned toward the noise, but instead of staring curiously as they expected, he immediately dropped to one knee, raised his weapon, and activated something on his helmet. "Night vision activated," the human said into a small device on his shoulder. "Movement at Sector 7. Tay froze. The human couldn't possibly see them. Their armor absorbed light and heat, making them invisible to most scanning technology. "Team 2, I need backup at my position," the human continued. "Possible intruder." More humans began moving toward their location. Jin looked at Tay questioningly. "Abandon the capture," Tay whispered. "Return to the ship." As they began to retreat, Sue slipped on wet leaves. The small noise was barely audible to Kyrian ears, but the human guard spun around and fired his weapon directly at her. The projectile hit Sue's armor and bounced off, but the impact made her stumble backward. "Contact!" the human shouted. Unknown. Entity, not animal. Suddenly, floodlights blazed throughout the forest. More humans rushed toward them, weapons ready. "Back to the ship now," Tay ordered. The 3 Kyrians ran through the forest, using their superior speed to outpace the humans. But the humans did something unexpected. They split into groups, with some cutting across to intercept the Kyrians' path. "How did they anticipate our route?" Jin gasped as they changed direction. They reached a small stream and splashed across. On the other side, 2 humans were waiting, their weapons aimed directly at them. The weapons fired. Jin howled as a projectile hit his leg, piercing the lighter armor at his joint. Dark blue blood seeped from the wound. Tay grabbed Jin and pulled him into the cover of dense bushes. Sue followed, her scanner working frantically. "Captain," she whispered, "they're surrounding us, and they're communicating our position to each other." For the first time in his long hunting career, Captain Tay felt a chill of uncertainty. These humans were not behaving like prey. They were organizing, adapting, hunting. "We need to divide them," Tay decided. "I'll create a diversion. You two get back to the ship." "Captain," Jin began to protest. "That's an order." Tay slipped away, moving deeper into the forest. He found a large rock and threw it far to his right. When several humans moved toward the sound, he circled behind them and ran in the opposite direction, deliberately making noise. The humans turned and pursued. Tay smiled grimly. This was more familiar. Prey chasing the obvious bait while the real hunters escaped. Or so he thought. As he led the humans away from his companions, Tay realized something disturbing. The humans weren't following blindly. They were herding him, forcing him toward an area where more of them waited. For the first time, Captain Tay, the greatest hunter of the Kyrian Empire, was being hunted. Captain Tay paced the command center of the Predator's glory, his claws clicking against the metal floor. The mission to Earth's surface had been a disaster. Not only had they failed to capture a specimen, but they had also nearly been captured, themselves. Jin's leg wound was healing in the medical bay, and Sue was still analyzing the data they had gathered. "They should not have detected us," Tay growled. "Our technology is far beyond theirs." Day, who had remained on the ship, looked troubled. "Perhaps they have better senses than we thought." "No." Tay shook his head. "It was something else. They acted as if they were expecting us." The door slid open and Sue entered. She looked tired but excited, her yellow eyes bright with discovery. "Captain, I've completed my analysis of the humans. I found something unexpected." She pressed a button on her data pad and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the internal structure of a human body. "Humans are not what we assumed," Sue explained. "Their evolution followed a completely different path from ours." Tay crossed his arms. "Explain." "Kyrians evolved as ambush predators," Sue said. "We hide, we strike quickly, we kill with one powerful attack. But humans..." She highlighted the human's legs and heart in the hologram. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters." "What does that mean?" Day asked. "It means they don't need to be faster or stronger than their prey," Sue said. "They just need to outlast it. Their bodies are designed for endurance, not speed or power. They can keep moving long after most creatures would collapse from exhaustion." Tay thought about this. "So they chase prey until it becomes too tired to run?" "Exactly," Sue nodded. "And there's more. Their intelligence evolved specifically to support this hunting style. They are exceptionally good at tracking, predicting movement patterns, and working together as a group." She changed the hologram to show a human brain. "Their brains give them another advantage. They learn quickly and adapt to new situations faster than any species we've encountered." Tay remembered how the humans had adjusted their search patterns during the failed mission. They hadn't just reacted, they had anticipated. "Show me more of their behaviors," he ordered. For the next several days, the Kyrians observed Earth from orbit. They intercepted and translated human communications, studied their cities, and watched their activities. Each new piece of information made Tay more uneasy. On the 5th day, they gathered again in the command center to review what they had learned. "They fight constantly," Day said, displaying footage of human conflicts around the world. "Not just against other species, but against each other. They have been at war throughout their entire history, yet they also cooperate on a scale we can barely imagine," Sue added. She showed images of massive human cities, global transportation networks, and huge construction projects. "No Kyrian pack has ever grown beyond a few hundred members, but humans form societies of millions." Jin, his leg now healed, pointed to the weapon systems they had identified. Their weapons are primitive compared to ours, but they have an incredible variety of them, and they keep making new ones. Tay studied the displays thoughtfully. What about their weaknesses? Everything has a weakness. They are fragile, Day said quickly. Their skin tears easily. Their bones break. They die from small wounds that would barely slow a Kyrian. They also need constant rest, Jin added. They spend nearly a third of their lives sleeping. Sue looked less certain. Yes, but they compensate for these weaknesses. They created medicine to heal their wounds. They built shelters to protect themselves while they sleep. They made tools to replace the natural weapons they lack. Tay walked to the view screen that showed Earth rotating slowly below them. They remind me of the Koroth beetles on our homeworld. The tiny insects? Day asked, confused. Yes, Tay nodded. Individually, they are nothing. A Koroth beetle can be crushed between two fingers, but when their nest is threatened, they swarm. They communicate faster than seems possible. They sacrifice themselves by the thousands to protect their queen, and they never stop coming. He turned to face his officers. I think humans are like that, individually weak, but dangerous as a group. A beeping sound interrupted them. Jin moved to his console and frowned. Captain, we're detecting unusual signals from Earth. They appear to be scanning patterns, sweeping through space near our position. Tay's eyes narrowed. Can they detect us through our cloaking shield? They shouldn't be able to, Jin said, but the pattern is changing. It's almost as if they're trying different methods looking for something specific. Sue rushed to her own console. Captain, I'm detecting a new type of satellite being deployed from Earth. 6 of them forming a network. They're equipped with advanced sensors. Show me, Tay ordered. The screen changed to show small human spacecraft releasing satellites into orbit. The design was unlike anything they had seen before. This is new technology, Sue said, her voice tight with concern. It wasn't in any of the data we gathered. Could they have developed this in response to our presence? Tay asked. Sue hesitated. It's possible. If they somehow detected our scout ship. Day slammed his fist on the console. Impossible. They are primitives. Primitives who nearly captured us, Jin reminded him quietly. Tay made a quick decision. Move the ship to the far side of their moon. We need to stay out of range of those new satellites until we understand what they can detect. As the Predator's glory changed position, Tay called up more information on human warfare. He studied their tactics, their weapons, their history of conflict. What he saw disturbed him deeply. They never stop innovating, he muttered. Even their failures lead to new weapons, new strategies. He found records of human wars where the side with better technology had been defeated by the side with better adaptation. Small forces had defeated larger ones through superior tactics. Primitive weapons had overcome advanced ones through creative use. Captain, Sue called from her station. I've intercepted communications about something called Project Guardian. It appears to be related to the new satellites. She put the transmission on the main screen. A human in a uniform was speaking, to others gathered around a table. The unknown contact from last week has moved position, the human said. Our new Guardian satellite's lost its signature when it moved behind the moon, which confirms our theory that it's using some kind of cloaking technology. Whatever it is, it's watching us. Tay felt his scales tighten against his skin. The humans knew they were there. How is this possible? Day whispered. The human on the screen continued. The encounter with unknown entities during the night training exercise has been classified. The recovered material from the blood sample has been sent to the laboratory for analysis. Jin touched his healed leg wound, his expression grim. They have my blood, he said. They're studying us while we study them. Tay stood very still, his mind racing. This mission had suddenly become much more complicated. The humans weren't just prey, they were aware, prepared, and rapidly developing countermeasures. We need to report this to High Command, he said finally. These humans are not what we expected, they are something new. As the transmission to Kyrian High Command was prepared, Tay looked again at the blue planet on the screen. For the first time in his life, he questioned whether his people should begin a hunt. These humans might be physically weaker than Kyrians, But there was something about them, something in their endless adaptability, their relentless nature, their ability to turn weakness into strength. That made them dangerous in a way Tay had never encountered before. The Kyrians had always been the apex hunters of the galaxy. But on that small blue planet, another kind of apex predator had evolved. One that hunted differently, thought differently, and fought differently. The question now was, which apex would prove stronger? The hologram of Admiral Rock filled the command center of the Predator's glory. His massive frame seemed to take up all the available space, his 4 yellow eyes glowing with anger. "You disappoint me, Captain Tay," the Admiral growled. "One simple scouting mission and you return with nothing but excuses." Tay stood tall, his face expressionless despite the harsh criticism. "With respect, Admiral, these humans are not typical prey. They detected us using technology they shouldn't possess. They are adapting quickly to our presence." "All prey adapts." Admiral Rock dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. "The High Command has reviewed your report and has decided. The hunt will proceed." Tay felt his stomach tighten. "Admiral, I recommend more observation before—" "Your recommendation is noted and rejected," Rock cut him off. "Your orders are to conduct a direct test of human military capabilities. Attack one of their bases, capture specimens, and evaluate their combat response. The Kyrian Empire will not be frightened by primitive creatures that cannot even leave their own planet." The hologram disappeared before Tay could respond. He stood silently, his officers watching him with concern. "Captain?" Jin asked quietly. Tay turned to face his crew. "Prepare for combat operations. We will attack a human military base in 12 hours. "Which one, sir?" Day asked, his eyes bright with excitement. Despite everything, the weapons officer was eager for action. Tay called up a map of Earth. "This facility in an area called Nevada. It is isolated but well defended. If we attack there, we will get the military response we need to assess." As his officers moved to prepare, Sue approached. Tay privately. "Captain, I still believe this is a mistake. These humans—" "I know," Tay interrupted gently. "But we have our orders. Perhaps a direct confrontation will convince the High Command that my concerns are valid." Sue nodded reluctantly and went to prepare her equipment. Tay remained alone, looking at the blue planet below. Something told him this hunt was about to change everything. The desert air was cool as night fell over the Nevada military base. Human soldiers moved between buildings, unaware that they were being watched from above. In the shadow of a nearby mountain, the Kyrian attack ship sat cloaked and waiting. "All systems ready," Jin reported. "Strike team in position." Tay nodded. "Begin the operation." 3 smaller craft detached from the main ship and glided silently toward the base. Each carried 5 Kyrian warriors, armed with stun weapons and capture equipment. Their mission was to disable the base's communications, neutralize any resistance, and capture several human soldiers for study. Tay watched from the command ship as the attack began. The Kyrians struck with precision, their superior strength, and speed giving them an immediate advantage. Human soldiers fell before they could sound an alarm, stunned by Kyrian weapons. "First objective complete," Jin reported. "Communications center secured." On the screens, Tay watched as his warriors moved through the base. The humans were responding now, but in confusion. Their weapons fired wildly, most missing the fast-moving Kyrians. "They're disorganized," Day observed with satisfaction. "Just as we expected." Tay wasn't so sure. The humans were falling back, regrouping around certain buildings. It looked chaotic, but there was a pattern to their retreat. "Warn the strike team," Tay ordered suddenly. "The humans are up to something." Before Jin could transmit the warning, the screens showed a brilliant flash of light. A new type of weapon had been deployed by the humans, something that sent out waves of energy that made the Kyrian cloaking devices flicker and fail. "What is that?" Day gasped. Sue worked frantically at her console. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, but focused. They found a way to disrupt our technology." Suddenly the tide of battle shifted. With the Kyrians visible, the human soldiers concentrated their fire. More organized groups emerged from buildings carrying different weapons. These didn't just fire projectiles. They launched nets, foam that hardened instantly, and darts that seemed designed to penetrate Kyrian armor. They prepared for us, Tay realized. They knew exactly what we are and how to fight us. On the screen, a human officer directed the counterattack. He wore different insignia than the others. A colonel, according to their intelligence. He moved with confidence, pointing and shouting orders that his soldiers followed immediately. Colonel Han, Sue read from her data. Commander of their Special Response Unit. Tay watched as Colonel Han's troops surrounded the Kyrian strike teams. The aliens still had the advantage in direct combat, but the humans were using tactics that minimized this advantage, fighting from cover, using weapons that worked at a distance, and most importantly, working together in perfect coordination. Strike. Team 1 is surrounded, Jin reported, his voice tense. Strike Team 2 has 4 warriors down. Extract them, Tay ordered. Send in the reserve team for support. The reserve team launched from the main ship, racing toward the base. But as they approached, new lights appeared in the sky above. Human aircraft moving fast and with purpose. Captain, Jin shouted. The humans have air support and they're heading straight for us. Impossible, Day said. They can't see us through our cloaking. A massive explosion rocked the ship, cutting off Day's words. Alarms blared throughout the command center. Direct. Hit to our engine section, Jin reported. Cloaking system failing. More explosions followed. The human aircraft circled above, firing weapons that somehow tracked the Kyrian ship despite its advanced technology. How are they targeting us? Day demanded, as he worked frantically to return fire. Sue looked up from her console, her face pale. The blood sample. They must have used Jin's blood to create a way to detect our biology. They're not tracking our technology. They're tracking us. Tay had never experienced anything like this. In all his years of hunting, no prey had ever turned the tables so completely. The ship rocked with another hit and the lights flickered. Engine core damaged, Jin reported. We're losing altitude. Tay made a quick decision. Order all strike teams to retreat, abandon the mission. Captain, Day protested, we can still fight. No, Tay said firmly. We're outmatched. Send the emergency signal to the Predator's glory. Tell them to retreat to a safe distance. As the commands were carried out, Tay watched the screen showing the battle below. Most of the Kyrian warriors were fighting their way back to the extraction points, but some had been captured. The humans were using their specialized weapons with increasing effectiveness. Another explosion shook the ship violently. Tay was thrown from his feet, crashing into a console. When he stood, he saw that the main control systems were damaged beyond repair. We're going down, Jin said grimly. Impact in 30 seconds. Tay looked at his officers, warriors he had, fought beside for years. Prepare for crash landing. Survival is now the mission. The ship plummeted toward the desert floor. Through the view screen, Tay could see human vehicles already moving toward the predicted crash site. Somehow they had anticipated this too. As the ground rushed up to meet them, Captain Tay had one clear thought. The Kyrians had spent thousands of years as the galaxy's apex hunters, but they had finally met their match. These humans weren't prey. They were predators, different from Kyrians but no less dangerous. And for the first time in his life, Tay knew what it felt like to be hunted. Pain was the first thing Captain Tay felt when he woke. His head throbbed and his right arm hung at an odd angle. He tried to move and found that he was strapped to a bed. The room around him was bright white, with strange machines beeping softly nearby. The alien is awake, a human voice said. Tay turned his head to see a human female in a white coat standing by the door. She spoke into a small device, then approached him cautiously. Can you understand me? She asked slowly. Tay said nothing. Kyrian warriors were trained to resist questioning if captured, but he was surprised that the human was trying to communicate, rather than simply dissecting him. More humans entered the room. One wore the uniform of a military officer, the same man Tay had seen directing the counterattack. Colonel Han. I'm Colonel Han, the man confirmed Tay's thought. This is Dr. Min, our chief xenobiologist. The female nodded. We've treated your injuries. Your arm was broken in the crash, but it should heal completely. Tay remained silent, studying these humans with new eyes. Up close, they seemed even more fragile than in the reports. Their skin was soft, their bodies lacking any natural armor. Yet they had defeated his elite warriors with surprising ease. Dr. Min approached a machine next to Tay's bed. Your biology is fascinating. Similar to Earth reptiles in some ways, but with a much more complex brain structure. Why am I alive? Tay finally asked, his translator converting his words to human language. Colonel Han stepped forward. We want to understand why you came here, why you attacked us. Tay considered his options. Kyrian protocol was clear. Captured warriors should reveal nothing. But this situation was unprecedented. His ship was destroyed. His crew either dead or captured. And the High Command might never know what had happened unless he found a way to contact them. We came to hunt, he said simply. Dr. Min exchanged glances with Colonel Han. To hunt us? She asked. Yes, Tay answered. The Kyrian Empire has hunted across the galaxy for thousands of years. We are the apex predators of known space. Rather than showing fear, the humans looked almost curious. Colonel Han pulled up a chair and sat near the bed. Tell me about this hunting, he said. Is it for food? Sport? Both, Tay replied. And for genetic material. We incorporate useful traits from conquered species into our own evolution. Dr. Min was taking notes on a small device. Fascinating. A species that directs its own evolution through genetic assimilation. Tay was confused by their reactions. You should be afraid. The Kyrian fleet has never failed to conquer a world once it was chosen for the hunt. Colonel Han smiled slightly. Yet your scouts were captured, your attack failed, and your ship was shot down. Perhaps we're not as easy prey as you expected. For the first time, Tay felt something like respect for these humans. No, you are not what we expected. Over the next several days, Tay remained in the medical facility. Each day, Dr. Min would check his injuries and ask him questions about Kyrian, biology, and culture. Colonel Han often joined them, asking more pointed questions about Kyrian weapons and tactics. Tay answered some questions and ignored others. But he also began asking his own. How did you know we were watching you? He asked one day. Colonel Han hesitated, then decided to answer. We didn't at first, but after the incident in the forest training exercise, we recovered a blood sample. Our scientists determined it wasn't from any Earth creature. Then we reviewed the incident reports, Dr. Min added. The soldiers described seeing distortions in the air, like heat waves but moving with purpose. We theorized some kind of cloaking technology. And the satellites? Tay asked. Designed to detect the specific radiation signature your cloaking technology emits, Colonel Han said. Once we knew what to look for, it wasn't hard to find you. Tay was impressed despite himself. The humans had gone from first contact to effective countermeasures in less than 2 weeks. No other species had ever adapted so quickly. On the 7th day of his captivity, something unexpected happened. Dr. Min brought a small device into the room and placed it on a table near Tay's bed. We found this in the wreckage of your ship, she said. Our engineers think it's a communication device. Tay recognized it immediately. A long-range communicator that could reach the Predator's glory. We've repaired it, Colonel Han said. And we want you to use it. Tay narrowed his yellow eyes. Why would you want me to contact my people? Because we believe there's a better option than war, Dr. Min said simply. Colonel Han nodded. If your empire is as powerful as you say, a full-scale invasion would cost millions of lives on both sides. We'd rather find a peaceful solution. Tay was stunned. In all of Kyrian history, no prey species had ever offered negotiation. They either fought and died, or submitted and were conquered. This was something new. What kind of solution? He asked, cautiously. An alliance, Dr. Min suggested. Your people have technology we could learn from. We have adaptability and creativity that might benefit you. We've studied your physiology, Colonel Han added. You're stronger than us, faster, but we've already found weaknesses we could exploit in a war. Neither side would win cleanly. Tay thought about Admiral Rock and the High Command. They would never agree to an alliance with a prey species, but what he had seen of humans convinced him that they were not prey at all. I will contact my ship, Tay decided, but I make no promises about their response. The humans removed his restraints and gave him the communicator. Tay sent a coded message to the Predator's Glory, knowing that Day would be in command now. He explained what had happened, what he had learned about humans, and recommended a diplomatic approach rather than further aggression. The response came faster than he expected. The Predator's Glory had been preparing a rescue mission, but Tay's message had given Day pause. After consulting with the other officers, Day had made a bold decision. He would come in peace to talk rather than to fight. 3 days later, a small Kyrian shuttle landed at the human facility. This time, there was no stealth, no cloaking. It came openly, with communication signals broadcasting peaceful intentions. Day emerged from the shuttle, accompanied by Sue and 2 other Kyrians. They were met by Colonel Han, Dr. Min, and a group of human officials. Captain Tay, his arm in a healing device the humans had created specifically for his biology, stood between the 2 groups. The High Command will not be pleased, Day said, quietly as he approached. The High Command does not understand what we have found here, Tay replied. These humans, they are different. They don't think like any species we've encountered before. Sue stepped forward. I've analyzed all our data. You were right, Captain. They are not prey. In some ways, they may be more advanced predators than we are. They've moved beyond the need to conquer. Colonel Han extended his hand in the human greeting gesture. After a moment's hesitation, Day reached out his clawed hand and took it carefully. It was an awkward moment. 2 completely different species attempting to connect, but it was also the beginning of something neither had imagined possible, a relationship between equals. As formal talks began, Tay looked out at the desert landscape surrounding the base. For thousands of years, the Kyrians had seen the galaxy as a hunting ground, with themselves as the only apex predators. But on this small blue planet, they had found another apex, one that hunted differently, thought differently, and perhaps most importantly, could see beyond the hunt itself. The galaxy would never be the same again.